Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Week, and welcome to our talk at CMIC. So the title of our talk today is Next Gen Virtual Reality, Unlocking the Power of Teleportation. How can we use VR, AR to travel the world, work together across great distances, or visit our friends in far-flung places? So before we begin, just a few housekeeping rules. Please make sure to mute your microphones. And recordings will be made available. So don't, to anyone who's been registered, and we'll be making the recording also available via YouTube on our website. Next, you might hear throughout the talk, people might use a bunch of keywords, and it tends that, when you're working with something so closely, you might forget that people might not understand some acronyms. So if you hear the word AVT, this is the subject of our today's talk. That's what we're referring to. It stands for Augmented Virtual Teleportation. And if there are issues with audio and video, please just write in chat and let me know, or let me know directly. And in true virtual fashion, everyone is joining remotely, including our speakers today. We will have some audio and video, so please bear with us if it is a bit choppy. Okay, so what's on today? We have a few things. I will be giving a very quick intro to CMEC and what we do. Following that, I'll be handing off to Taeyeon Ri, our director, to give a talk introducing some of the teleportation concept, followed by Lucas Stockline, who will talk a little bit about how we might use this type of technology for the future. After this, we'll break into a Q&A panel with the speakers and other researchers and staff who have been working on this project. Okay, so very quickly, CMIC stands for the Computational Media Innovation Center. We are a research center in Victoria University of Wellington, part of the Faculty of Engineering. And our real focus is digital and interactive media research. So VR, AR, machine learning, computer graphics, human-computer interaction. And we're still very young, so only about 2 years old with about 15 staff, 10 students. So where do we fit into, how does our research lab fit into New Zealand? So the question that we're trying to address is the question of what New Zealand's role is in the next wave of new media technologies. And we've certainly seen in the past that, for example, the likes of Weather Digital have proven that New Zealand can be a leader in this area. And so for us to do that, for New Zealand to become a leader in this area, that we need to be able to be prepared to solve very difficult research challenges. And so this is where CMIC comes in. We want to enhance the interactive media ecosystem of New Zealand through industry-oriented and user-oriented and industry-driven academic research. And the areas that we're interested in working in are along game development, real-time rendering, film production, animation, and also augmented reality, new types of immersive experiences. So what we do at CMEC is pretty simple. You can think about it as breaking down our name into two parts. We do cutting-edge research in media, and we are innovation center, working with partners to solve new problems on the digital media frontier. And on top of that, we would like to also be part of an ecosystem in Wellington that we've been building together, and I guess contribute to this idea that Wellington and New Zealand as a whole can be a center of digital media innovation. And so we work with people across different partners internationally across the globe, but also people locally from small production companies to startups, and also our friends at other departments at Victoria University of Wellington. So to give you a sense of some of the research we do, for example, how can we use machine learning to understand our environment from an image, for example, so that our phones can better understand the world around us? Or how can we leverage new types of interactive media media content like 360 videos? For example, for different use cases, new ways of interacting and engaging audiences. How can we recreate iconic art styles using algorithms so that artists can express their art in new ways? or use digital scanning techniques to create more immersive VR training for emergency scenarios. So it's a very short introduction of what CMIC does. If you're really interested to find out more, we are more than happy to catch up with a coffee or just come by our offices to learn more about what we do. Feel free to contact us with the links you see above. And with that being said, I'm going to pass on to our next speaker, TJ. So just a quick, quick introductions. So the two speakers today are TJ and Lucas Stockline. Just as a background, I'll be reading their bios. So TJ, or Taehyun Ri, is the director of CMIC and the founder of the Victoria Computer Graphics Lab. He spent 17 years at Samsung Research for computer graphics and mixed reality at the Future IT Center, Samsung Advanced Institute of Technology. He now conducts research using AR/VR for telepresence, mixed reality rendering, and digital characters and other types of related topics, similar topics. He's also the founder of mixed reality startup Dreamflux, as well as the recipient of the QNet Entrepreneurial Researcher Award. Our other speaker is Lucas Stockline. Lucas received his bachelor in computer science at Victoria University of Wellington, where he now works to support CMIC's research through developing prototypes to showcase the work and researching market needs to ensure impactful outcomes. He's also the co-founder and CTO of Swibo, a startup that develops a gamified balance board for physiotherapy. So Lucas, TJ, can you maybe just wave hi to the audience just so that people know where you are?
Hi.
Cool.
Hello.
All right. So I'll pass on now to TJ. TJ, are you ready to start your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Let me share my screen. Yep. So everybody can see my screen? Hope so. Yep. Thanks, Ian, for the nice introduction. Kia ora, I'm Taehyun James Ri, simply call me TJ. I'm a director of CMIC and associate professor at Victoria University of Wellington. Today, I will introduce Augmented Virtual Teleportation developed by CMIC team, one of the new concept and platform that is able to unlock the power of teleportation. Okay, teleportation is a difficult topic, but I will try my best to make the story easy and simple. Hope you to enjoy it. Let's call it a teleportation 101. Let's start with a very common thing for everybody. We are at Earth. Is there any from other planet today? Hope the signal is fine to them. And it is a three-dimensional space. Each of us live in our own local 3D space. It can be Wellington, Auckland, and we can stay in one local space at a time. In order to transfer one space to the other, we need transportation. Technically, it is to transfer your local space continuously. If space A is Los Angeles and B is Wellington, we need to go to LAX airport and then take flight to travel to Wellington. And we can be in Wellington, but actually we need to transfer our flight in Auckland to Wellington. So anyway, it requires long flight, more than 10 hours. And long haul flight costs travel time and money, produce carbon emission, may cause climate change. There will be a better way. Teleportation is to transfer from a space to another instantaneously. Teleportation is awesome. Sometimes I play with my daughter game called Would Rather. So one day she asked me that, Daddy, would you rather have $1 billion or superpower such as teleportation? And my wife said, of course, $1 billion. But I said, teleportation. So I know it can be a good discussion topic. And this is my pitch. One of my favorite movies is Jumper, story of people have teleportation power. If I'm a teleporter, I can teleport to Egypt to see the sunrise on top of the pyramid, then jump to Paris for breakfast, go to office for work, and visit Vienna to pick up a pizza shortly to have a dinner at home in Wellington with my family. Awesome. So there's something that we cannot buy. Can it be possible? Yes, quantum teleportation is actually exist. Based on article, scientists teleported quantum information within the confine of diamond last year. And scientists say it will be possible to teleport water molecule or organic molecules within decades. Awesome. However, human teleportation is way more complicated than teleporting the diamond. So process of human quantum teleportation, I will remove all the complicated detail and explain it simple in an abstracted form. First, destruct our body into atomic scale, transmit the pieces into the other space, then assemble the quantum particle to reconstruct the full human body. That's it. Sounds straightforward. However, in order to do it, we need a quantum jump from our current science. And let's assume that scientific problem have been solved. Then engineers should be very, very careful to implement the teleportation system to avoid any technical error. Any technical fault will cause serious health and safety issue. After a couple of decades, we may have a human teleportation system. Who knows? Then we can travel to any place in the world. But really, let's assume we have teleportation system now. In order to travel to the other country, we need a special permission to teleport. If we grant the permission, we will teleport to a quarantine hotel, stay there for 2 weeks, and go outside with mask. Human teleportation is not safe. Augmented virtual teleportation will unlock the power of safe teleportation. How? Let's think in a different way. Instead of being there, how about feel there? Quantum teleportation is transfer an object or human from one space to another. Virtual teleportation is to transfer other space into my space. Sounds good idea. But we cannot stay in two physical spaces at a time. What we can do? Just close your eyes and imagine you are in Paris and you can see Eiffel Tower and you can eat croissant with espresso. Human has a power of imagination. Please open your eyes. While our body stay in our physical space, our mind can be in the other physical space. This is telepresence. Virtual reality is a technology for telepresence. VR provides immersive experience in the virtual environment, which is ideal for training, simulation, education, and planning. In VR, our body safely stay in our physical space, but we can feel in the other virtual space. In general, the virtual space in VR in 3D digital space created by 3D computer graphics. Traditional VR based on 3D graphics has limitation for telepresence at the real space. For telepresence in the real space, our body located in our local physical space, but we feel in the other real space in life. How we can implement it? The process is a little bit complicated. Telepresence at the real space, a bit complicated, but I will try my best to explain the implementation way simple. Space A is where we are at, and space B is the place to teleport. We need a separate process for each place. For space B, first, we digitize information of the real-world surroundings of space B using capturing device. then encode it into digital media to stream, and transfer the digital media to the cloud server with high-speed network. At space A, download and restruct the digital media, then use immersive VR interface to perceive the immersive digital media. If we fully immersed, we can feel telepresence at space B while staying at A. If we can do the whole process in real time, we can realize the live telepresence. For high sense of telepresence, we need high fidelity capturing, modeling, and rendering. For live telepresence, the whole process should be in real time without latency. It is technically very, very challenging. One of the current practical solutions is to use 360-degree video camera. 360 video camera captures omnidirectional dynamic view, cover a wide range of field of regard, provide telepresence in the captured real space. Few recent cameras capture high-resolution stereo panoramic video in real time. 360 video shown in VR displays provide telepresence in the captured real space. However, it has no interaction except head rotation. Our team developed MR360 technology, which can blend dynamic 3D object into 360 video in real time. It provides illusion to play with the object in the teleported space. Since it augments this information into teleported space, it is augmented telepresence. 360 video provides telepresence in the Mountain Victoria Lookout in Wellington, and augmented telepresence will make you play with the fishes in the lake. So virtual teleportation unlocks the power of the safe teleportation. The augmented part will unlock the power of interaction in teleportation. When we connect AVT with high-speed network, we can virtually teleport to any place in the world. For example, we can virtually teleport to a stadium in UK, watching Wimbledon tennis with your friend in live. We can evaluate interior design and furniture layout with virtual teleportation remotely. So actually our MR360 and DreamFlux technology used for virtual tour demo at the Wellington Airport. The project was led by Wellington International Airport and Wessler, a local production company. In this demo, the people sit in the tri-show, as in the picture, with VR headset and controller, then virtually travel to the destination of Singapore Airline and experience the local culture in MR. MR here is a mixed reality. The original installation is supposed to be a few weeks, but it has been extended for 3 months. Okay, so AVT unlock the power of safe teleportation and interaction in teleportation. It can also provide immersive on-contact platform for remote collaboration. So far, our teleportation did not consider any people in the teleported space, such like a planet with no living creature. However, we live in Earth with many people. We need the communication and collaboration when teleported. In order to collaborate with a person in the other space, we need to travel to the collaboration site. This is one of the example scenario. One of the pipe in Wellington City is broken, needs immediate help from engineer in, for example, US. To fix the problem on site, collaborators need to be in the same space. So to solve the problem, engineers need clear situational awareness of the surrounding of work site and communicate face-to-face with engineer at Wellington and work together in life. However, being there is sometimes not possible, so we need immersive on-contact platform such as AVT. The current video conferencing, like Zoom, has limitation to feel on site to have a full situational awareness of the surroundings. You cannot see what is the other side of this video. VR telecollaboration is great to communicate at the virtual collaboration side, but their collaboration is limited at the virtual digital space. AR telecollaboration such as holoportation by Microsoft is awesome, but we can communicate with a remote collaborator through their 3D avatar and the augmented virtual object, but collaboration is limited by their own local space. So telepresence and situational awareness of the remote site is limited. So here's our solution that AVT can provide. Instead of traveling, remote engineer can stay in their physical space safely, but have full situational awareness in the work site through live streaming 360 video shown in his VR headset. Local host at the work site wear an AR goggle, then communicate face-to-face with 3D avatar of remote engineer overlaid into 360 camera. Collaborators work together in the high fidelity mixed reality collaboration space in live. AVT is an asymmetric platform that converges AR and VR into live mixed reality collaboration space. Remote traveler is in VR, and the local host is in AR. They collaborate in the live mixed reality space with augmented virtual object. I will skip the detail to explain how we implemented it. This detail will be covered in our recent paper, so I can share the link. Okay, now I will show you a captured video of our current AVT for remote collaboration. The AR host at the work site set up a 360 video camera to capture and live stream the space. He wears a see-through AR display. For this video, we used a camera attached to the HMD for better visual quality, but it can be switched to HoloLens and Magic Leap. Remote traveler wears a VR headset for immersive viewing and telepresence at the worksite. Then VR traveler and AR host will meet and collaborate at the worksite. Actually, the left is the VR view from the traveler, and the right is the AR view of the host. VR traveler see the local host through the captured 360 video, and therefore no avatar is required. The AR host see the 3D avatar of the remote traveler, the yellow guy, for face-to-face communication. They collaborate in a live mixed reality collaboration space with augmented 3D virtual object. In AVT, you can use virtual suitcase to bring your own virtual asset, but Dragon and Fun, into a remote worksite without packing nor custom check. This is not a concept video, but capture the working prototype. So our current AVT needs a couple of hardware devices, capturing device such as a 360 camera, immersive interface for VR traveler, and interactive interface for AR host. One of the simplest setup can be a live stream 360 camera like a Ricoh Theta V. It's just $200, and use your own monitor for traveler and mobile phone for host. And our research team is currently working to fill the gap between the needs and the current technology. For example, locomotion within the 360 video, panoramic live 3D capturing, and better avatar visualization. We also collaborate with many researchers in New Zealand and overseas to solve more complex research problems, such as multimodal sensing like a touch and smell with Hillab New Zealand in Christchurch, empathic collaboration with Empathic Computing Lab in University of Auckland led by Professor Mark Billinghurst, and telepresence and mobile telepresence with friends in University of Otago. We will keep post any update in our website, including the technical details through our academic publication. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed my teleportation 101. Any question will be covered in our Q&A session, or simply email to me. Now it's time to hand over to Lucas to discuss future use case for AVT. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to discuss some of the possible use cases that AVT could be used for. But to start, I'm going to show a video, a small concept video that hopefully will make my job a lot easier.
Imagine being able to appear next to someone the moment they need help. A business's success is driven by the skills and actions of its employees. But to work effectively, they need to be able to communicate easily and accurately. When employees face a difficult problem, they need to be able to ask for help, even if those people aren't nearby. Some problems require complex hands-on problem solving and are ill-suited for video calls. That's why we created AVT. Now you can really be where you are needed. Using virtual teleportation, you can contribute to solving problems as if you were really there. Move around with total independence, view from any angle you want, and use augmented reality tools for maximum effectiveness. Upgrade the way your team collaborates and allow them to work at their full potential.
Okay, I think there were some feedback issues, so I hope you got the gist of that video. Thanks, Ian, for sorting that out. So let's begin. So my talk is going to be about what AVT could be like in the future, and what are some of the most exciting use cases. Double check my audio is working now. Okay, so we're going to be looking at what might be possible in 5 to 10 years based on the capability of today's technology. So one of the big aspects is socializing, and how can teleportation impact the way we socialize? Intimate socializing is probably the most demanding use case in terms of realism. Today, the way we connect with people far away is through video calls like Zoom and Skype. It's the most real form we have, and it does an okay job. You can read someone's facial expressions and hear their voice clearly, so if the goal is to communicate an idea, it does a pretty good job. If you want to just be with someone, like your family or friends, it lacks a lot of things that make the interaction rewarding. There's still a sense of talking into a box and receiving a response. You might expect there to be a delay, and are always half expecting to be asked to repeat what you said because the internet lagged out, or you had reverb like I just did. They can only see what you're pointing at, and can only move if you move the laptop. Oops. Often you only see their face, and there's little ability for you to read body language. These all detract from the feeling of togetherness and presence that you get in real life. There are also significant barriers to seeing people who live far away. You need to get time off work, pay for travel, and be in relatively healthy shape. Virtual teleportation would mean that you and your family could teleport to your grandparents' house across the world for the evening, with very little planning and cost. It could give you a huge quality of life improvement for people with immobilities and who are long-term hospital patients. People too old to travel on airplanes would also benefit. Long-distance relationships could also benefit hugely from added realism. It also opens up the possibility for virtual matchmaking and speed dating in a safer way. What does it mean for service work? You are no longer limited to your local area of selection of services. For example, many types of education and coaching services could be done through teleportation. One example is sports coaching. Imagine if you could coach or be coached by people anywhere in the world. Imagine you could hire a personal trainer while you're in the gym and have them instantly appear, just like ordering an Uber. You could join a yoga class from your living room and be teleported to somewhere beautiful like the top of a mountain or a tranquil forest with your coaching classmates beside you. You could be playing golf at your local course and struggling with a certain swing. In under a minute, you've booked a coach and have teleported next to you. You could be snowboarding down a mountain and have your coach following you, giving you instructions, perhaps even highlighting the path he wants you to follow in real time with markers and other kinds of augmented effects. This can be applied to almost any sport. The number of possible applications is huge. There's a whole layer of sport-specific augmentations that could be used to enhance the training. For example, your coach could show you which rock your climbing coach could show you which rock he wants you to grab. Your tennis coach could place a marker exactly where he wants you to shoot. And team sports like soccer, rugby, or hockey, the coach could draw drills or a game plan on the field using augmented effects. This would allow more efficient communication of ideas, especially when something is improvised or a plan needs to be adjusted. Almost all forms of music could be coached remotely. It would also allow bands who live far away to play together. How can virtual teleportation impact education? The availability of quality schooling within your zone, within your home zone, is an important issue for many parents. But what if your selection of schools was expanded from 4 to 500,000? Imagine if your child could learn about the ocean by teleporting there, just like the kids show the magic school bus. Just arrange seats in the shape of a bus and put on VR. Parent-teacher interviews are also something that wouldn't have to be done in real life. How could it impact events? You could teleport to ringside events or even into the ring itself at the next World Championship title bout. You could see the punches thrown as if they're right in front of you, or even stand inside one of the boxes and try to dodge the punches yourself. Or you could float above a player of your favorite rugby team as he weaves through the defense and scores a try. You could place a bet in a rally race and then sit next to the driver as he zoomed through forests and mountains. You could watch the Olympics in first person. You could go to concerts anywhere in the world and even stand where the band is and play along like Guitar Hero. There could be custom visual effects that match the music happening around you, like being inside a music video. Teleportation could also be used for event planning to better understand sightlines, to test acoustics, and to check safety standards. It could be used for film productions. This is a screen grab of Steven Spielberg virtually taking photos of the virtual set inside Ready Player One. This could be applied to a real environment. It could also allow location scouters to quickly go to a potential real-world location, or the director to walk around the scene thousands of miles away. Actors could also use it to feel like they're really in the scene. Imagine being able to cycle in the most beautiful locations in the world from your living room. It opens up a whole new range of exercise and gaming opportunities. You could race your friends down the Alps, pushing the speed to the absolute limit because there is no risk of damage. What about business? How can it impact business? Business trips may become a rarity as your avatar allows you to communicate as if you were there. Job interviews, meetings, site visits to offices or factories could all be virtual, saving days of travel and expenses. What about interior design and real estate? Virtual teleportation could enable the client to browse through hundreds of thousands of homes, picking their favorite furniture pieces and trying them out in their own home. They could also bring in others to give their thoughts in a room together, friends, spouses, or maybe even hire a professional designer. It could change the way people buy furniture. Instead of guessing that the thing in the store will look good in your home, you could realistically preview thousands of pieces at your leisure. Virtual teleportation could also be used to assess dangerous situations where it is preferable not to send a human. A team of engineers could teleport into an earthquake-damaged building and walk around, virtually touching the walls where there is likely to be damage and leaving markers. Policy managers and other non-technical people could also get a better understanding of the situation than they otherwise could have with images or graphs. It could be used as a less intrusive way of monitoring wildlife. It's often detrimental for wild animals to become comfortable with human presence. Carrying human scents can change the way that other animals treat them, and it can make them less likely to avoid poachers or other humans, which is especially important for dangerous animals. Virtual teleportation could also be used to visit historically sensitive areas without leaving a human footprint. Environmentally sensitive areas could also be better protected by allowing a better understanding of the landscape before bringing in heavy equipment. Every day, the hardware and software technology progresses and gets us closer to virtual teleportation. This can be broken down into these main categories. The technology that enables virtual teleportation is rapidly advancing, and many of the concepts that I've mentioned are already available on the market in quite early stages. We don't think it'll be long before you'll have to shake someone's hand to know if they're real or not. I'm now going to pass it over to Ian for some Q&A.
So before we begin, and while we give some time for the audience members to think about what questions they might want to ask, I'm going to introduce the rest of the AVT team and the panel. So you already know TJ and Lucas. I'll introduce, we're joined by 3 other people on the panel, so Nadia, Daniel, and Stephen. Dr. Nadia Padindi is a lecturer at CMIC. Her research interests are in the area of human-computer interaction and user experience and design, particularly focusing on designing for and evaluating people's real-world everyday interactions with technology. Daniel Medeiros is a postdoctoral researcher at CMIC. He obtained his PhD in 2019 from the University of Lisbon, Portugal. His experience includes interdisciplinary work around the use of virtual reality in medical, engineering, and architecture contexts. His main interests include mixed reality, human-computer interaction, and 3D user interfaces. Stephen Thompson completed a software engineering degree at Victoria University of Wellington and later did a master's of computer graphics at CMIC. He now works at CMIC as a prototype developer. I'm going to just start the conversation off with a simple question. So today, we've already seen a number of hiccups from how to share screens and audiovisual feedback. A general question to the panel, do you feel like this type of teleportation technology will be the future of how we interact with one another? Do you think that video chat will go away? Do you think that's just a stepping stone to something else?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so Nadia, you
Yeah.
can start.
Yeah, I can start as the kind of people-oriented side of CMIC. So hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our event. I guess for me, when it comes to technology, and my background is in psychology and computer science. So it's always interesting to me because I liaise with people, with users, communities, organizations all the time. And it's always interesting how some people are very skeptical about technology and rightfully so. And they ask me, is this going to be the new thing? Is that how we're going to live from now on? And I always say, it doesn't have to be only that thing. So what I would like to think about AVT is that it will complement our existing practices. At least I want to feel that we have another option. So we are not only tied to video calls as they are now. Of course, if some people still want to use the video calls that we have now, that's absolutely fine. But to have an option to have a more embodied real-time kind of interaction with someone else far away, especially in the current climate of the world, I think it's a very powerful option to have in your life.
So I agree with Nadia's point, and video conferencing can be the reliable technology that we can use. So we are currently communicating with Zoom now. We can talk face-to-face through the video. This is great. But there are a couple of limitations that we cannot use Zoom for some certain situation, like if we need to go some specific space and then we need to aware that surroundings in live, Zoom has a limitation. And there's a question from Andrew for 5G, especially when we go outside, if something happened in the, not our office, the mobile network and the high-speed network is a kind of essential for Zoom and also like AVT. So especially when we use AVT, we are having heavy data to share the captured information from one space to the other. So the data will be very, very heavy, and then the information that we will share will be heavier than the video streaming. So the 5G and such kind of technology will be helpful for making the more immersive multimodal media that can make the rich immersion for the teleportation. So yeah, I think the video conferencing is a basic, very basic technology that can be used, and the AVT can be add the additional thing on top of it.
Okay, thank you, TJ and Nadia. I see a few questions about 5G and transmission, but I'm going to hold off to them. I'm going to, because I see Mark has raised his hand for a while. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Oh, hey, so it's Mark Billinghurst here. So thanks.
Hi, Mark.
Very nice presentation. So one of the questions that we're going to discuss is how do you evaluate the quality of the communication? So, you know, when you're building this fantastic system, you want to be able to show somehow that it provides some advantages compared to desktop conferencing. So what techniques are you thinking about using as far as evaluation goes?
I can speak to the user evaluation, but potentially some of the people in the panel can speak to the technical evaluation, because I think there are two sides to that. I think when it comes to the people, what we do is we want to, and we have started that process already, is we're engaging kind of users, whether it's kind of, developers in the civil engineering kind of scenario, or people who are in the tourism industry, etc. We engage them early on. So from the state of the prototype now, in kind of seeing what they think about that, what are a lot of the use cases we provided in Lucas spoke about are actually coming from users and not just from us. So there are things that have been suggested that they can see the potential of the technology. So the user evaluation starts really early and it's kind of iterative. So we take into account what people currently do, and we kind of try and think how can this align with what we are trying to develop, and obviously extend the possibilities there. And then ideally, so that is my kind of future plan, I would hope that as we add more features, you know, the multi-user, the maybe sensory elements to this platform, that we can test by kind of having people use them in the real kind of, in as real setting or naturalistic setting as possible, and see very, very well and very clearly what are the limitations, or what are the kind of the problems there, and work actively with the users.
Great, thanks so much. What are other people's thoughts?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, it's a good question. So there are a couple of things that we wanted to evaluate. So because the telepresence, we need to measure the presence in both sides, and also we also wanted to be in our colleague in the remote side. So we need to measure the co-presence as well. And also there's a technical thing like a latency and visual quality need to be measured properly to evaluate the technical advancements. So also like this is kind of a new concept. So there is a probably new way to evaluate user value. So I think Daniel may have some comment for that.
Yeah. So the idea, it's like it starts with the basic idea that you had. So, and for example, for our paper, we wanted to make sure, for example, that both sides have a high sense of presence. So they both feel that they are in there and they feel that they are with someone there. So that's why we, with the prototype that we have, so starting with the basic evaluation of the platform itself, was to evaluate both sides of the communication space. So the remote person, who is, that we call here VR traveler, that is the one that travels to the other part, and the guy that's already there. So we did some a basic task and evaluated the platform. And now we are on the process that Nadia is describing to get a little bit more of the value of the platform and think about the use cases and the possible things that we can do and the limitations that we saw in the prototype that we evaluated for us to go further. So things, for example, that TJ mentioned, for you to be able to walk around using 360 video, for example. Yeah, so I think it's a little bit like that.
Great, thanks for that.
Okay, so I see two more questions from, here's one from Psychedelic. How do you see the transmission of data from some of these remote places?
Maybe Stephen can talk a little bit more about it.
So is the question about how we transmit the information?
It might be that psychedelic. Feel free to elaborate in the chat. But I think as I understand is that some of the places or the places that we're talking about in use cases are not places where there will be data connectivity. For example, we won't have a 5G connection out in the farm, for example. There might not be one. Or if you're skiing down the field, on a mountain or something like this. And so how do we intend to address these types of data connectivity challenges for this platform?
Yeah. So I think, say probably in that case, and obviously likes of 5G or Ethernet will provide the best experience, having a much faster data transfer. So I'd say would be looking at ways of minimizing the data transfer so that we can work on like lower bandwidth areas, such as or out in the sort of outside of the, say, main city centres, for example. So yeah, I'd say at least what an immediate solution for that would be, downscaling. So perhaps instead of streaming 4K video, 360 video, we're streaming 1080. Or look at some of the type of optimizations that we can produce.
Yeah, I'd say a mix between, wherever we are with 5G in 10 years, or we're not on 5G anymore, but that, and also potentially preloading a lot of information, like if you had, like around the avatar specifically, if you already knew who you were going to be warping in, there's a lot of preloading you can do that you could save, obviously, in the streaming.
There might be two technical issues. One is the capturing and then perceiving. So in order to capture, we need to have a special device to capture in live and stream it. So the current technology, we are using 360 video, but that is current capturing device that we can rely on. But we expect that the capturing device will be advanced. For example, we can attach some camera in the drone, and drone can be connected with the 5G. Then we can capture the dynamic changes more quickly. And maybe when we have a couple of years later, we probably have a 6G and 7G. So Samsung already started with the 6G. And the other thing is that the displays that can be more like a wearable display that is attached to us. So it can be the goggle and the mobile phone, and then or the Retina displays, and then we can we assume that kind of display is connected with the IoT device and connected with the 5G or 6G, 7G later. So currently we have a limitation for the streaming and then capturing device, but I think that will be changed in the near future from the platform partner.
So it sounds like the overall message is that there are still some, I guess, barriers to overcome with regards to data transmission, but as perhaps the adoption of volumetric video or the types of videos, we might have new algorithms to maybe more efficiently transport these types of experiences across longer distances and maybe more remote distances as well. Cool. I'm going to ask a couple of questions from Andrew. So I think you've really talked about 5G potential, but Andrew asked, please talk about 5G potential. And another question from Andrew is, please talk about holograms, holography, and volumetric filmmaking.
Yeah, I start. So I said a couple of story for the 5G already, so I will say some of the holographic and volumetric capture. So in our setup, so for VR traveler, we can see the real person captures. So we do not actually need the avatar to be shown to the VR traveler. It's a capturing device will capture in real time. But AR host need have volumetric or 3D representative of a remote collaborator, need to be shown in real time. So this is a kind of a two-way innovations. One way that we can provide is a capturing devices can solve the problem for the holographic display of the person for the remote people, because we will capture and deliver surroundings and also people in that space. But local host, they need a AR technology like holographic capturing and the volumetric capturing for the remote traveler in remote site. So Microsoft is working hard, working for the holo teleportation, and then they also have there are many players for volumetric capturing. So both sides need to be improved, and I say we care more for the traveler point of view, and then there are many company and researcher care for the local host point of view, like volumetric capturing and then holographic display of the avatar of a remote person.
Okay, so sorry, there are a couple of questions. So I would like to make sure that everyone has a chance to get their question answered. So here's one from Huidong Bai. Does AVT run only in peer-to-peer mode or support multiple users in one tasks? How about the system's scalability? And I think this would be a good one to also pair with another question from Stefan Marks from YouTube. What software frameworks do you base your AVT on? I noticed Unity Server on one of the slides. Anything else? Azure?
Yeah, so basically now the AVT was the basic prototype that we evaluated. It's just one-to-one, but we are now thinking about, that's why we are doing some user kind of evaluation to figure out the scenarios that we can use so we are now kind of thinking about the multi-user aspect. Yeah. So the scalability for now is just one-to-one because of latency issues. So we wanted for the basic prototype to work, for it to work as good as it can be. Maybe also Stephen can talk a little bit more about the system itself.
All right. So the question on, you say YouTube, was about
software frameworks. What software frameworks do you base AVT on?
So for now, we haven't moved to, say, a bigger cloud company like Xero yet. We have so for now we've only tested internally on local networks, but it is moving to more cloud type networks is something we are currently looking into.
Yeah, I can add a little bit more. So we implement our software platform based on the game engine, and then the network server, that is a part that we will think about to add more. So currently the software platform is running in Unity and Unreal Engine 4, and then the network server cloud service has not been decided, but we are happy to have any discussion for any collaboration opportunity to check the cloud server and network computing test.
Okay, I'm just looking through chat now. So there are a couple other questions I would like to bring up. So this is one from Hansol Cha. So less technical but business related question. Have there been any proven or successful business models for MR, AR, VR platforms / products / services?
That's kind of secret. So yeah, this is a similar. So I got the same question multiple times. So when I was Samsung like more than 8 years ago, when I worked for AR and MR, people keep asking what's the killer application, what's the business case, and yeah. So my question is that VR, there's a clear benefit for using VR, only VR can do. There's a clear benefit for AR. AR is dominant for the other. And there is a clear area that AVT can be better than others. So we need to focus and we need to find the use cases clearly and then try to improve and optimize our platform and technology toward that. So this is a difficult question. So we are currently working for some use cases as Lucas mentioned that. And we wanted to have a partner to evaluate the needs and impact more. So we are open for the question and open for the discussion.
I would say at the moment, VR is probably the prominent one, mostly because of gaming. But there's definitely a rise lately in collaboration tools in AR for things like HoloLens. There's a pretty big push that way. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're looking for a lot of market feedback, I guess, and where we should steer AVT.
Yeah, and also virtual reality and augmented reality has been used for like a lot of time, in more like in the business side. So in business to business, for example, oil and gas companies, they do a lot of simulation. And for example, car manufacturing, for example, they use a lot of augmented reality to simulate lighting conditions on materials, for example. So there's a lot of uses more on the business side of the thing. So I think now maybe the main challenge of VR and AR and MR in general is to reach the mass, like the broad, like more the broad public. And I think it will get there, I guess.
Okay, we're about the end of this session, but I think we still have time for a couple more questions if everyone on the panel is fine to keep going for a little bit more. Okay, so I've one from Tom from Trimble. So Tom says, I was intrigued by the image of the sewer system collaboration. Could you elaborate more on the use of the system in the field? For example, open air, remote location. I imagine things like durability, for example, would also be under that.
Yeah, I can start that. I'm not sure. So I don't know about the durability because I'll leave that to the technical implementation people. But I think this is, I mean, being able to, I guess, teleport and collaborate across remote locations is the main kind of advantage for this kind of platform. And I guess what we are hoping to leverage is on kind of integrating existing devices and kind of applications. So for example, what TJ mentioned, I think earlier, around the drone. So drones are used already in emergency response or robotic kind of vessels. In emergency response for engineering, for like sites that they can't always reach, for anything like monitoring flooding in agricultural regions or kind of animal conservation, etc. So Australia has actually quite a lot of applications because of the size of the country as well. So we are hoping to kind of leverage these kind of technologies that maybe companies already are using and integrate those into the platform that we are kind of developing. So yeah, so I don't know about if anybody else wants to add something about the scenario that we have for the pipeline.
So Tom adds to the question just quickly. For example, the use of systems in bright light, for example, I mentioned the camera system, or weak networks. So we talked a little bit about the difficulties of transmission in remote locations, but that's true. The camera also has limitations in itself.
Yes, I mentioned it before. So, our technology, so and Nadia mentioned that we will leverage the current existing technology like a capturing device and network and also like a display. So we assume that that can be advanced in the future, and then there can be the variations. So we can have a very simple setup. For example, we can have just phone and then the very cheap 360 camera to capture and live stream and using a network. And then there can be some like a limited resolution of image and then latency, but we can share the information. And also we can use our phone and monitor instead of using the immersive devices. There's a variation that we can limit the immersion and then information, but we can have a better communication and connection. So it can be flexibly changed and adjusted by the application. So, and also in order to have a full immersive, full information, the data size will be large and large. But in order to that, we need to change the platform. That can be advanced in my point of view in the near future. So I think that the platform, the thing that we mentioned is like a concept today, and that there are lots of potential to be improved when we have improvement the platform that we can leverage.
Lucas, you were about to say something as well. I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Oh, no, TJ covered it. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I think we're over time. So I'm just going to ask one more question, and I'm going to combine two, one from Laura and one from Luke. So Luke says, while VR headsets and 360 cameras are cheaper than, say, flying from LA to Wellington, they still haven't reached mass consumer uptake. Do you think AVT reaching mass adoption, do you see AVT reaching mass adoption from the general public? And on that note, about the use of something like this by the public, for example, I think it's good to add Laura's question, which is, do you think teleportation can replace real human interaction? Which is a bit of an open question, perhaps.
I would say for the first question, I absolutely think it's going to go that direction. And maybe it's the new HoloLens 4 or 5 or 6. But I think once the certain barriers like the cost and the wearability of it, once it gets easier to wear, these are the things that kind of stop the mainstream market from getting it. But just like Google Maps on your phone, once it hits a certain point where it's usable enough, or it's more usable than it is hassle, then it's going to explode, I think. In terms of the platform, people will make apps for it. It's going to be just like smartphones, I think.
And I wanted to say something about the real human connection. So I think if we're talking about, replacing, people hugging on like, physically collocated hugging, let's say, and things like that, I don't think it's going to replace that. And that was what I was saying. It's not about replacing that. I don't think anybody wants that, at least nobody that I know, at least. But I think when we talk about real real life interaction, if we look back 25 years before, mobile phones had an uptake, the real life interaction was not what we have now. So our lives have been changing, and they have actually been changing radically in the last 25 years. So what was real 30, 40 years ago is not what is real now, but it's still real what we live now. So how we call each other on mobile phones and we text is very real. And for some people, this is like their main way of interacting with each other. So I think it's really important that we are kind of providing options for more ways to interact rather than less.
Okay.
I agree in Nadia's point. We do not want to replace the existing thing. We wanted to add value. We wanted to give some other way to achieve the thing that we cannot solve in the current real life interface and the solutions. That's what we wanted to do. But I think definitely there is something that we cannot replace in the real interaction interface, but that's not our goal. So our goal is to give additional value and alternate value For example, so like I don't know if this is a good idea or not. So like if there's a live concert, we can have the sports bar with AVT, and then we can get it together in the live concert in the bar. Instead of a sports bar, the AVT bar can be another future kind of business. I don't know. So yeah. So yeah, it can be another value and another way we can communicate and interact with the people.
Awesome. And I think on that note, I think it's a good place to end it. Thank you so much once again to our speakers and panelists for this talk. And thank you so much to everyone who managed to tune in. Just as a reminder, if you've registered for the event, you will get a recording of this session. And if you want to know more about what we do, feel free to reach us at cmic.vuw or cmic@vuw.ac.nz, or just come visit us at our building on Taranaki Street. Anyway, thanks again so much, and I hope you guys have a good rest of Tech Week.
Thank you so much.